Hi, I'm Kara Stein, and we're here to talk about how to publish your best-selling book to bring in leads without spending years to write and publish it. You're in the right place if you're already making a difference in your business, but you're ready to level up, you want to step into your authority, you're ready to stop paying for leads and actually have them coming to you, and you'd love to have your ideal clients seek you out and already know what you're about, what you do, why you're the person for them, and already be bought in and ready to buy when they talk to you. So, why are we here? It's time to step up and fully embody your greatness. The world needs you. I'm Kara Stein, the founder of 17,000 Days and Project Bestseller. I'm also the best-selling author of 5 books. I'm a book designer, an editor, and a marketer, and I'm also a certified life coach, which comes in handy when my clients get stuck or don't know what to do or need more clarity on what they're doing. As a life coach, I can help them get that clarity and get unstuck and keep going and really step into their greatness. I help coaches and creative entrepreneurs publish best-selling books to bring them leads and clients. In this presentation, here's what you'll learn. You'll learn how to write your book even without writing a word if you don't like writing, how to finish it in as little as a week, the 6 critical steps to publishing your book so that it sells, also best sells, that's not really a word, but I'm making it a word, brings you leads. I'll also show you what you can hire a pro for and what you can do yourself. There are some things that you really need a professional and some things you actually can do yourself if your budget's tight. So I'll show you the difference between those things. And most importantly, I'll show you how to keep your book selling in the long term. So a lot of people get really excited when they launch their book and they become a bestseller, and then the second their launch is over and they stop promoting the book, sales drop off and nothing ever happens again. And just to let you know, most self-published books end up selling less than 100 copies total in the entire lifetime of the book. And that includes the author's mom and the author's cat. Just really very few sales. And so you want the opposite of that. What we want to do is create a book that launches you to bestseller, that establishes your authority, you as the person for your thing in your niche, and continues selling month after month, week after week, year after year, and keeps bringing you leads every time. Instead of paying for leads, whenever somebody buys your book, they're basically paying you to become a lead, and that's what we want. By the time somebody has finished reading your book, they've spent several hours with you learning who you are, what you're about, and getting to understand what you do and why you do it and why you're the person for them. So that by the end of the book, they're much more ready to work with you, and they're much less likely to become one of those clients that's a backseat driver or is always questioning you, is always taking up time, or somebody who you write a proposal and they're like, oh, I don't know about this. By the time people come to you, they're already bought in, they know you're the person, and they'd love to work with you. And if anything, they're wondering if you're available, if you'd be willing to take on them. So make sure you stay to the end, and I will give you your bestseller launch checklist and also a step-by-step publishing roadmap. What I really want is to deliver a lot of value today. I know everybody says that in webinars, but I really actually mean it. I'm not going to spend 1,000 years on my story and welcoming everybody from all different parts of the world and asking a bunch of inane questions. I'm just going to give you the information, and then at the end, if you want to work with me further, that's great. I'll give you the opportunity to do that. And if not, that's totally fine too. You'll be happy to go with your bestseller launch checklist and your step-by-step publishing roadmap. My goal for this presentation is for you, at the end of this, to know exactly what you need to do in order to publish your best-selling book and have it start bringing you leads. Now, obviously, in 45 minutes or an hour, I can't tell you everything about how to do those things, but you will know what you need to do. So just to give you a little bit of my background and why I'm qualified to give this presentation, I used to, like a lot of people, I used to have a job, and I was bored. It was a great job as far as I had fantastic benefits. I even had a pension plan, but I was really bored. And so when I quit, I started my own business. I thought, okay, this is going to be the life. You've probably been there, where you think like now is when everything is wonderful and this is my dream life, and nothing's ever going to be boring again, and It's all exciting and idealistic. And there is a lot to be said for working for yourself. I would not want to go back to corporate life or cubicle life for anything, honestly. But, and especially at the time, about a year after I quit my job, my boyfriend was diagnosed with lymphoma, and I was able to go with him to every single one of his chemotherapy appointments and be with him for the rest of that day and as much as he needed to help take care of him, to help make sure his kids got fed, all of that stuff. You know, if I'd still had a job, I would have probably been stuck in my little beige box going crazy while somebody else took him to his appointments. And that's part of why it's so amazing to work for yourself. But it's also not so amazing sometimes. You know, I've also been there to the part where you're just starting out and you don't know how to charge what you're worth yet, and you put yourself on Elance, it was at the time, for $15 an hour is what I was doing. And so I started winning a lot of clients, and it quickly became way more work than I could handle. And I ended up having this insane nervous breakdown and everything, and had to pretty much reboot the business from scratch once I recovered from an immense burnout and depression. And having gone through that, what I learned is that you really need to build a business that's sustainable and that works with what you are good at. So I had a lot going right with that freelancing, but I was just missing a few things, and one of them was charging enough to make a living wage. And I did keep raising my rates over the course of the time that I did it, but it was still, I never quite got to the point where it was actually a sustainable business. I was just working all the time, just frantically trying to get everything done. And so after my breakdown, when I got back into it, I was like, I cannot have that happen again. And so I started studying the people who had successful businesses and were actually happy. You know, the people who seemed to really enjoy what they were doing. I was like, okay, what are they doing that I'm not doing, and what's different? And so I actually went through a phase where I had some coaches and I was copying them and I was doing exactly everything their way. And that was a huge improvement. I started winning clients for, 5-figure packages instead of 3-figure packages. That makes everything a lot easier. Not having to juggle 7 or 8 clients at a time, also definitely an improvement. But what I was doing is doing everything their way. And so they really wanted me to be doing all the networking events and having a big Facebook group and spending a lot of time trying to get people engaged and being visible, all of that stuff that you're supposed to do to attract clients gently, basically. And, there's sort of a pressure as we become successful business people. I feel like there's a lot of pressure that we're supposed to be really visible, and we're supposed to be, speaking, and we're supposed to be doing all this stuff. And in some of the personal development parts of the community, there's actually kind of a mockery of people who just like to stay home, stay in their office, and do work. And, oh, you're hiding behind your laptop, that's terrible, or whatever. And I mean, if you're somebody who loves speaking and loves being out with people and loves doing networking events and all of that stuff, that's fantastic. I want you to do exactly what works for you. And for me, that stuff was torture. And trying to make myself a person who liked that just didn't work. I could make myself do it, but I couldn't really make myself like it. And so it's taken me some time on my own since I had, I went through several different programs, and I've, done tons of e-courses, and it's taken me some time to learn what my way is. If you are a fan of The Princess Bride, you may remember Fezzik the Giant when, what's the name of the little guy from Sicily? Whatever his name is. He's like, well, go fight the masked man and do it your way. And the guy's like, what's my way? And he's like, hit him over the head with a rock. He's like, my way is not very sportsmanlike. Like, that was not his way. And similarly, trying to be a big deal speaker and what have you is not my way. So for me, what I've found is that I really I don't call it hiding behind my computer. but I guess you could call it that. I like staying in my cave and working on stuff. I love making stuff, and I love just having a very few clients, just a select few that I get really close to and I help them build their empires. And so I decided to launch this e-course because not everyone can afford to hire me on a private basis, one-on-one. That's like $15,000 and up. And I would love to see more people actually do their thing their way. So whether you're somebody who loves getting out there and being seen and being an influencer and building community and all of that stuff, or whether you're like me and you just like to make stuff and you really wish you could just make stuff for your clients and not have to be rushing around trying to win new clients all the time. Either way, this program is for you. I really want you to be able to just do what you like and know that plenty of leads are coming in who are already bought into your system, who already know why they want to work with you. And all you have to do by the time you get on the phone with them is pretty much decide if you want to work with them or not. That is the goal of this program. So just think about what that would be like for you for a minute. Imagine what it would be like to be the authority on your thing, whatever your thing is. What would it be like for you, for everybody to just be like, oh, okay, anytime your thing comes up in conversation, they'd be like, oh, of course, you need to talk to you. What would it be like for you to have a steady stream of dream clients joining your mailing list automatically with no further effort on your part, getting nurtured by the automated systems, and then applying for calls with you, and then by the time they get on a call with you, it's you deciding whether you will accept them, not them deciding whether they will hire you? How would your life be different if that was the situation you had? Just think about it for a minute. Maybe even jot a few notes if you want to. If you've got that picture really clear in your mind, now I want to go through the 6 steps to build your best-selling showcase book. The first step is laying the foundation. The second step is designing your book to sell. The third step is writing your book quickly. A lot of people take years and years to write their books, and you don't have to. You can do it in as little, depending on what you're starting with, as little as a weekend or a week. Step 4 is setting up the systems to make it automatic. Step 5 is launching to bestseller. And step 6 is selling in the long term. So that's just an overview of where we're going today. We're going to cover each of these steps just as much as we can in the time we have here. So step 1, laying the foundation. This part, just like the step name says, lays the foundation for all of the rest. The mistake a lot of people make when they go to write a book is that they think about what they want to say, but they don't really think about why or who needs to know that stuff. So in this step, you'll get very clear on who you're talking to, which would be your ideal client, what problem you're solving for them, and that needs to be an acute problem, not just a chronic problem that they're used to living with forever. The outcome that you offer, and that is kind of the crux of everything, because that's what's going to make people desire your book and desire to work with you further. And the proprietary process you use to deliver the outcome. So if you've been working with clients for a while, you probably have a pretty clear picture of your proprietary process. But if not, that's okay too. It's worth thinking through what's in there and what steps you always take. And that way, even if you never write a book, it's still valuable because it'll help you with all of your future clients. Instead of having to think through every time you have a new client, like, okay, well, what would I do for this person? What do we need to do? And what are the steps? If you know your proprietary process, you can maybe you need to tweak it a little bit for different clients and maybe not. Just like, okay, this is what I do. Here are the steps. And that also helps new clients realize that you are the one to talk to for this. It shows that you're an expert because you've done this enough times that you have a proprietary process. So for each step in your process, especially for the purposes of the book, but really in general for the rest of your business as well, you want to name the step. And again, think outcome based. People want what they will have when you have solved this problem. For each step, you also want to identify the reward of completing it. list some case studies and success stories, list possible freebies, and for the purposes of the book, you'll also want to outline what you want to say about it. So that is step one. And what a lot of people get concerned about at this point is, what if I say everything in my process here in my book? Like, why would somebody hire me? You don't need to worry about that. Don't be afraid of giving too much away, because the more information you give at this point, the more you show that you're trustworthy and that you know what you're talking about. And basically, there are a few different types of people. There are some people who just seek freebies and they're never going to do anything. And so you don't have to worry about those people. There are some people who like to read books and like to do stuff themselves and would never hire somebody. And again, for those people, as much as you tell them or as little as you tell them, they're never going to hire anybody anyway. There are some people who always want support, and for them, like, those are the people you really want to talk to. The people who sometimes want support and the people who always want support. Because those are the people who are going to actually go on to become clients. And for those people, what you want to do here is establish trust and establish your expertise and build a rapport with them and build connection with them. So that's why you really can't give too much away. For example, one of my past coaches, Darla Ledoux, has a book. She wrote a book on her signature system, and it is called Retreat and Grow Rich. Retreat and Grow Rich. And her book, she really does tell the whole thing, everything she has her clients do to establish their retreats. And it's an incredible book. It's just chock full of value. It's like the next best thing to having a coach in your pocket, really. There's no coaching, of course, but all that information. And so you might think, oh, why would anybody ever hire her? But every several times a year, she runs a promotion where she gets a whole lot of people to promote the book for her, and she'll have some small offer that if people get the book for free, they'll be given this small offer, and then once they've been through the tiny program with her, that is the gateway on to going on a retreat with her, doing a bigger program with her, and ultimately her high-level program. And she always, every time she does this, ends up selling a whole lot of the small program and filling her retreats and her higher-level programs. Because people realize, even if you know everything there is to do, and even if you know how to do it, a lot of times, still you'll get stuck if you try to do it yourself. So it's worth having support. Most people know that. And your ideal clients certainly know that. So that's why you don't need to be afraid of giving too much away in your book. Step 2 is designing the book to sell. That includes your hook, your title, your unique selling purpose, what distinguishes the book from everything else that's on the market on this topic, ways to get organic traffic, including keywords and categories that you'll set up for your book in Amazon, and making your book irresistible to your ideal client. Now, the reason we do this first is because it's much easier to write the sales copy and figure out what you want to promise for your book before you've written it than after. One of the second book that I wrote, I did this the other way around. I wrote the book, I figured out what all stuff I wanted to say, and I was really excited about it. And I wrote the book, and then I got to the end and I was like, okay, it's time to write the sales copy. And there were so many things that I would have loved to promise in the sales copy, but I knew I hadn't written them in the book. And so I couldn't promise those things because I knew I couldn't deliver them. So it's much better to start at the beginning, thinking about what it is that you want to promise, what would your ideal client find irresistible, what would be super valuable, and you nail all that down, you come up with the hook and make it something that when you say it, people go, ooh. And when you have all that stuff, then when you go to write the book, for one thing, you'll know exactly what you need to say in it. For another thing, as you talk about it, you get people interested before it even comes out. But thirdly, and most importantly, you know what you've promised. And so then you can make the best promises, all the ideal promises you want to make, and go ahead and write the book to deliver them then. So that is the way I recommend. It's way better than the other way around. Because by the time you've written your book, once it's time to write the sales copy, if you're writing the sales copy after, you do not want to go back and try to add things to make sure you fulfill the promises that you wish you could make. Like by that time you want to be done. So if you write the sales copy first, then write the book, you can just write the book to deliver those promises, and it's much better that way. So step 3 is writing your book and getting it done quickly. So in this part, this is where you'll actually construct your manuscript. And the great thing is that all of the structure and all the foundation you laid in steps 1 and 2 will become the table of contents and the outline for your book. So it becomes very easy this way. You don't ever have to sit there and stare at a blank page and try to figure out what to say. All the things about writer's block, not an issue, because all you have to do is see what the next section is on your outline, go, oh, okay, and write that section or record it or wherever it's coming from, and then just keep doing that until you've finished all the sections. So there's no overwhelm either, because the source of overwhelm is not having too many ideas and not really knowing what to do first, not really knowing what to do, not having a structure. So once you've already got your structure, basically you just do the steps by step. So there's no overwhelm, there's no writer's block. You can finish your book very quickly. Now, I recommend a few different methods, depending on what you already have, to get your manuscript finished. So if you already have a workshop, for instance, or an e-course, I definitely recommend using that material to create the foundation of your book. So if you have, for instance, an e-course, let's say, you can get all of the videos transcribed and put them together, and basically there you go. You have a manuscript. What I recommend is thinking about the promises you want to make and thinking about your ideal client and the pain you solve and the steps of your proprietary process, and making sure that matches up really well with what's already in the workshop. So if if what you do has evolved a little bit since you created this workshop, you will want to add stuff or maybe take stuff away and modify it a little bit. But for the most part, you can really send your videos to a transcription service and get it transcribed. And then you need a really good editor, though, to turn that bunch of transcripts into a manuscript. But basically, with almost no additional work on your part, you just need a transcriptionist and a really good editor, and then a cover designer and all that stuff, and there you go, there's your book. So if you have an e-course that's representative of your proprietary process, that would be the way I recommend. It's almost no extra work. Can be very quick and very awesome. And you've probably already thought through, what are the important things to say about my stuff, and what are the stories, what are the success stories I want to include. So, why not reuse that? That's awesome. For example, I had a client who came to me wanting to do that exact thing, and his was originally a live workshop, and then he made it into a Udemy course. And so he gave me access to his Udemy course. I got all of the videos transcribed, and I edited it, and made it into a manuscript. And he actually wanted to sell it as a PDF ebook on his website, and so that's what we made it into. But later he went on to get a publishing deal with Tarcher Perigee, which is an imprint of Penguin. And I looked at it, and it was almost exactly word for word the manuscript that I had made for him. So, that it's not a cheesy way to do it. You can get a real book out of it that's good enough to be published by Penguin. If you don't have an e-course, another great way to start is your signature speech. Again, if you have a signature speech, you've probably put a lot of thought into what's important, what you want to say, who your audience is, and all of that stuff. And so that can be the seed for your book. You've probably seen a lot of people like Brene Brown, Simon Sinek, some of the really popular TED Talks. You may notice that is the 20-minute version of their book. And so that's a really great model, because if you're already known for that, or you're becoming known for it, let's add some fuel to the fire, become known for it through your book as well, and then those two things can feed each other. So that would be my second recommendation. And then if you don't have either of those, you can actually you can either write the manuscript yourself, Or if you don't like writing, you can record it as audio. And what I recommend for this is that you sit down, with the outline that you've made from steps 1 and 2. Excuse me. And then you sit down and just take a piece, whatever the next topic is that you want to cover in your book, and pretend you're talking across the table to one of your ideal clients and just explain it to them. So that way it'll come across as very friendly and personable. It'll connect with the reader and you'll get your tone correct. A lot of people, when they write their books, they come across as like really patronizing, or just like they try to make themselves sound smart and important. And that really doesn't come across well. If you just talk to the person like they're a person, that's much better. And so as you're recording the audio, if you imagine your ideal client, either, past, present, or future, sitting across the table from you, and imagine yourself just explaining this to them, that will give you a perfect tone. So to give you an idea of how much material you're going to need to write a book, if you want, basically in the publishing industry, 250 words is considered a page. And of course, a bigger page has more words and what have you. But for calculation purposes in the publishing industry, 250 words is a page. And so to write a 125-page book, you're going to need 31,250 words. So what is that? You want to know how much you need, right? That is basically a 60-page Word document, or if you're doing audio, it's 5 to 7 hours of raw audio. So that gives you an idea of the scope. Depending on how fast you work, some people take years to write their book, of course, but most of that time, in a lot of cases, is mostly procrastinating. It's not so much writing. For a normal person, if you're doing, let's say you're doing 500 words a day and you're only doing it on weekdays, that'll give you 2,500 words a week. And so at that rate, you could finish your manuscript in 2 to 3 months. And that's a reasonable pace. Other people like to do just like crazy binges. Like that's how I prefer to do my books, honestly. I had this one year, there was a literary festival here in town, and I really wanted to have a book for it, but like some of my clients were here in town and they really wanted to have books for it too. And so by the time I finished their stuff, there was only a week and a half left. And so I thought that there would be a lot of writers who would want to know how to get published at this thing. And so I really wanted to have a book for it. So I was like, all right, I don't care. I'm going to try to do this. And so I sat down. I already had the outline because I had given this same information as a very, very bad speech. It was way too much information for a speech, and I ran out of time. It was terrible, but it made a great book. So I already had the outline, and so I just sat down and wrote like the wind for 5 days, and I finished the manuscript 5 days, and that one was, I want to say it was like 23,000 words. So a little on the short side, but it still made a, nice book. It feels like a real book. And so I work with, there's an editor that I work with a fair amount, and I had told her, a couple weeks before, like, hey, I'm going to try to do this. Could you make space in your schedule for me? She was like, yeah, sure. So when I finished it, I sent it to her. She turned it around in 2 days, which is a miracle. And meanwhile, during those 2 days, I was designing the book cover. And so then as soon as I got it back from her, I did the formatting for paperback and shipped it off to what was then CreateSpace. Now, if you wanted to do that, you would use Amazon's KDP. It's combined so that all of the Kindle publishing and all the print-on-demand paperback are all together under KDP. But at that time, it was CreateSpace. And so I sent it off, and they take 24 hours to review. A human looks at all of the stuff and makes sure that the files are, the right format and nothing's going to be printing upside down or off the edge of the page or whatever. And so it went through human review, and as soon as it cleared human review, I immediately ordered a box of books at the fastest shipping possible. And then as soon as it appeared on Amazon, I ordered another box of books using Amazon Prime. And again, like, let's get these books here. And so in a total of 12 days, I wrote the book, had it edited, designed the cover, formatted it, uploaded it, and got the print copies back and had paperbacks in my hand ready to go for the literary festival the next day. So that's what's possible. That's crazy. Like, I don't recommend that for normal people. But just to give you an idea, that's what's possible. So, and as you're deciding which way to come up with your manuscript, I definitely recommend using what you have and playing to your greatest skills. You know, if you love writing, then write. If you hate writing, then record audio. Just the more you enjoy what you're doing, the more that's going to come through in the book, and the more people are going to enjoy reading it. So one question a lot of people ask me is when to hire a professional and what stuff they can do for themselves. Or some people actually don't think to ask me, but I definitely have some advice on that. So this basically breaks down into 3 categories. The things you absolutely need to hire a professional for are editing and book cover design. And the reason for that is that even if you're a great writer, you need an editor. Like, I've had a lot of people who were, actually professional writers who still had written manuscripts that were really too stuffy. Like, they'd have been a great technical paper or whatever, but for a manuscript for a book that people were going to read on like a Kindle, their sentences were way too long, their paragraphs were way too long, and everything was just too long-winded. And so I did a lot of heavy editing, even on, for really good writers. And for bad writers, of course, a good editor can make your book good, even if your writing is terrible. So either way, no matter who you are, you need a good editor. And also, especially if you're doing any audio, because the way people speak is really not the same at all as the way people write, or at least not good writing. And I mean, good writing is conversational, but it's a different cadence, it's a different feel, and you need a good editor to make it actually into a good manuscript. And even more importantly, you definitely need a professional cover designer. I've had more clients than I can tell you decide, pay me several $1,000s to do editing and all of the other things, but decide they just don't want to pay the last like $300 to $500 to get a professional cover design. And so they try to get their cousin down the street to do it, or their kid who's 12 or whatever. And it always ends up looking terrible. And they never can really tell that it looks terrible. And then nobody buys the book. Like, the thing is, the first thing that will determine whether anybody buys your book or not is the cover. Like, that's why there's a saying, don't judge books by their covers. It's not about books. Like, it's a metaphor. But for books, the reason that's a saying is that we do judge books by their covers. That's what book covers are for, other than keeping the rain off a book. So you need a professional cover designer. And, it's only $300 or $500. Like, in the grand scheme of things, if this is your showcase book, that is the last thing you should skimp on. Like, basically, when somebody looks at your book on Amazon, first they'll look at the cover, and if they don't like it, they'll just go on by. They won't see any of the rest of it. Then they'll look at your title. If they like the cover, they'll look at your title and maybe your subtitle. And if they like those things, then maybe they'll read your sales copy. And if that's persuasive, then maybe they'll buy your book. And then maybe they'll read it, and then maybe they'll know whether it's any good or not. But really, none of that is going to happen if you don't have an excellent cover design. So that is one thing that you can't, if you want anybody to buy your book, you can't skimp on that. And you'll see probably a lot of advice out there to use sites like Fiverr or 99 Designs, and I do not recommend either of those. All of the work that I've seen from them really has been pretty much terrible, and or the designers did not get the rights to the images. And so when people have gone to publish their books, they've discovered that they couldn't use those images. They couldn't use the cover design that they paid for because they didn't have the license to use the images that were in it. So that's a big problem. You don't want to go through that. So absolutely, you need to hire pros for editing and book cover design. Also, transcription and formatting. Like, you could do those things yourself, but they're really tedious. And the time it takes to do them, like, you'd be insane to do those things yourself. But you could. Like, if you really had a money crunch or something, again, I recommend hiring people for those, but you could do it yourself. Another thing that you could hire people for, you could hire somebody to ghostwrite your book if you wanted to do that. There are a lot of services out there, and I offer that service to a select few clients as well. where it's just basically the way it works is somebody interviews you and finds out what is your thing and gets to know really all the stuff that I would recommend that you say in your book. They interview you and find out that stuff, and then they write the manuscript for you. Um, Also, marketing. If you're an excellent marketer, you could market your book yourself. Or if that's not what you like to do, then you could hire somebody to market as well. Again, those are optional, but the editing and cover design, you absolutely need pros for those things. So now on to step 4, and that is autopilot systems. So once we've got the foundation for the book, we've got figured out how we're going to sell it, all of the good stuff for that, and we've got the book written, what we want to do is set up systems that turn our book buyers and readers into leads automatically. And so there are basically 3 pieces to that. The first is freebies, the second is a landing page, and the third is an email sequence. So the reason you need freebies is you want to offer those. Amazon, I don't know if you know this or not, so I'm just going to tell you because that's what this is for. Amazon doesn't tell authors who bought their books. Like, you don't get any information about those people. You just know that like 300 people bought your book, and so they're going to send you a check for however many dollars in 2 months after there's been time for people to return it. You don't know anything about those people. So if you want those people to become leads, what you need to do is offer them a reason to come back and sign up for your mailing list. And so that's what you're going to put together some freebies for. And basically what you want to do with these is in the beginning offer something very, very compelling that, like, basically if they read this book, what is the next thing they would be dying to know? Answer that in a freebie. Offer it in the front of the book and in the back of the book. And then I also recommend doing targeted freebies at the end of each chapter as well. For example, if you're doing a hypnosis book and they just did a chapter with a visualization, you could include at the end of that chapter, like, hey, is it really hard for you to try to visualize while you're reading the things that you're supposed to be visualizing? Yes, probably. You can get the audio just by, going to this page and signing up for my mailing list. And so that is a really great way to get people back onto your mailing list where you can start building a stronger relationship with them. And so the more targeted, having just one freebie at the beginning and the end of the book is great, and then having really specifically targeted ones at the end of each chapter is even better. So that is what I recommend. And so then once you have your freebies, you'll have a link in the book that takes them back to the landing page where they sign up for your email list. And then you want to build a 2-week email sequence that once they've gotten on your mailing list, you want this to automatically deliver the freebie instantly, and then another message the next day, and then another message in 2 days, and so on over the course of 2 weeks, where you keep getting them present to their desire to solve their problem, where you keep building the relationship with you and establishing trust. You keep giving them valuable information so that they know that you are a trustworthy person, and you keep escalating the amount of commitment that you're asking of them. So maybe in the very first one, all you ask them to do is download the freebie. And then maybe you kind of work your way up to like, oh, you want to watch a video? Okay, here's a video you can watch. And then like, oh, well, maybe you can make a comment on this blog post. And so gradually you work them up to getting more and more used to taking action and participating in your community. And then at the end, you may want to do something like a webinar or, a pre-recorded one or even a live one, whatever. And then at the end of that, perhaps you have an offer for a sales call or an offer for one of your programs. And so that's a really great way to get people feeling like they know you, feeling a connection with you, knowing that you're somebody who offers value, trusting you, believing that you know what you're talking about, and as close to being ready to buy as possible before they ever get on the phone and talk to you. So the goal is that if they're on a sales call with you, they're already bought in. You don't have to sell them. You're just screening them basically to see if you want to work with them and to see if it makes sense and is a good fit. So having all these things happen automatically makes that so much easier. Step 5 is launching to bestseller. Now this step has a lot of stuff in it, to be honest. And there you can You can make this as elaborate as you want to, but the three things that are absolutely crucial are your book platform, your author platform, and your launch ads. So your book platform includes the sales copy, your reviews. For a lot of the ads, you're going to need to have 5 or 10 positive reviews before you can actually schedule those ads. And it also includes your keywords and categories. So when you upload your book to Amazon, you'll get to choose 7 keywords and 3 categories, and those will help your book be discovered organically. Now, your author platform, of course, normally that includes your website and all of that good stuff. But specifically for your book, the 2 main things in your author platform are your profile on Amazon Author Central and your profile on BookBub. So once you've clicked publish on your book, you will be able to go and sign up for those accounts, and you want to do that right away. And then basically for the first 2 weeks your book is live, you're going to be going around and setting up ads and doing all that kind of stuff. And then the actual launch, I recommend you do that on a Tuesday, about 2 weeks after your publication date, so that you have time to set everything up, but you don't miss the 30-day window. On Amazon, it's really important to launch within the first 30 days that your book is out there, because the bestseller ranking factors in mainly how many copies of your book you've sold in the last hour and in the last 24 hours, but also how many you've sold on average over the last 30 days. And so one of my clients could not get his reviews together in the first 30 days, and so we didn't end up launching until after that. And we sold a lot of books. We sold more books than the number one in several of his categories on a couple of different days, but we couldn't be number one because we had all of those zeros averaged in. So I don't want you to make that mistake. So your book platform and your author platform, and also your launch ads. There are a few different platforms where I recommend doing launch ads, and those are BuckBooks, BookSends, and a Fiverr gig called B Nights. And then you'll also want to run Amazon ads and BookBub ads, and then those 2, Amazon and BookBub, you can continue ongoingly after your launch as well. Now, in your launch, if you want to take it to the next level, I mean, just doing advertising and those basic things that I just described, will, depending on your category, is enough to make you a bestseller. But if you want to make a much bigger splash than that, which you probably do, some of the things you want to do include pre-launch buzz. So as you're writing the book and as you're getting it designed and what have you, mention to your followers, post on social media like, hey, I'm working on my book and I'm just really excited because the cover designs came back, or, oh, book is coming up in a couple months, like, this is really great. The more you do that, the more people will feel like they're part of the story, and so the more interested they'll be and the more excited they'll be when the book comes out. So that makes a big difference. Another thing that makes a big difference is having a street team. So this is basically, you send out a message to all of your followers and your current clients and say, hey, I'm doing a book, in a month or 3 months or whatever. Who wants to be on my street team? What you'll do for me is, as soon as the book comes out, you'll write a review and you'll promote it to everybody you know. Or maybe not everybody, And what you'll get out of this is you'll get an advanced review copy. So you get a free copy of the book and you get to read it before anybody else does. And you get a backstage pass to the launch itself. And so a lot of people really almost everybody wants to write a book. And so for a lot of people, that's very valuable. And for your fans too, they're probably, excited for you. And so they want to be on the team and be part of it and get to support you. And so that's exciting. That's a win all around. A lot of people worry that this is going to cost them sales, but honestly, it probably won't, because for one thing, not everybody will see the email messages where you invite them to be on the street team. For another thing, your book is going to be 99 cents during the launch. A lot of those people are your biggest fans and they'll just buy it anyway. So, and then having them help you promote it, you're not going to cost yourself sales that way. Another thing you can do is have affiliates. You can also do PR. And you can also offer special launch bonuses. So for this, think about like Kickstarter packages. If you buy just a copy of the book, then maybe you get a free PDF with it or something. And if you buy 5 copies, maybe you get to be in a special secret webinar that nobody else gets to be in. And if you buy 500 copies, maybe you get a keynote speech or something like that. Just think about what you can offer at very different price points. And a lot of the big authors do that to make their launches really big. So just to give you a case study, here is an example of one of my past clients. For his book, we launched to number 2. He was also number 3 in 3 different categories. He was in the top 10 of a total of 7 categories. And we actually had him in 10 different categories, and he was in the front page of all of them. Now, this is the same guy that I was just talking about who did not make the 30-day window, and so we never made number 1, which really bummed me out, to be honest. But he still was a solid bestseller in 10 different categories. And this is despite having a lot of disadvantages. So he had no email list, didn't have any fans or following or anything that would go out and buy his book, didn't do a street team, didn't have anybody to put on the street team. He had no relationships with influencers, so nobody bigger than him could, mention his book because he didn't have any relationships with those people. We did no PR. He offered no launch packages. He did no pre-launch build-up. And we launched after the 30-day window, and we still got him to number 2 bestseller. So that gives you an idea of what's possible. And he didn't spend a ton of money on ads either, maybe a total of about $300. So even if you really have, not a whole lot of advantages, you can still have your book do really, really well. Now, step 6 is selling in the long term. And this is really, everybody likes to be a bestseller, but selling in the long term is really way more important. And a lot of people, they'll do all the things and they'll launch their book and it'll be really exciting. And then as soon as they stop promoting the book, sales drop off and it just ends up in Amazon's graveyard, basically. So that is not very helpful. It does not bring in leads. If nobody's buying the book, nobody's joining your mailing list from it and becoming leads. So what we want to do is have the book sell in the long term. And the way to do that is using profitable ads. And so what you want to do is set up ads on BookBub and Amazon, mostly BookBub, honestly, and target other authors that are very similar to yours, and as time goes on, keep choosing more and more different authors. And notice, like, what I do is run 1 ad per author so I can see which ones are performing well. And the ones that are doing great, I run them again the next week. And the ones that aren't, I drop them off and replace them with some other people. And so as you keep doing that over time, you can keep your book selling really just about as well as it did during the launch. And as long as you're paying less money in ads than you're making in royalties, basically that's all free advertising. The book is paying for itself. And so you can keep scaling that up and keep bringing in more and more leads to the point as much as you want. And so that's really exciting. So in step 6, you're going to keep optimizing your ads. You're also going to keep optimizing your funnel. If you notice perhaps that your webinar isn't performing very well, of course you want to improve that. Or if you notice that, your conversion rate is low on your landing page from your book, that's what you want to improve. And as you keep optimizing that, you keep getting, more and more leads coming in for less money. So that's always awesome. So what's this all about? It's about time, money, and freedom. It's about not having to keep chasing after, prospective clients and going to networking things if that's not what you like to do, and all of the stuff that you do in order to try and pursue future clients. You don't have to do that anymore. And so you can take that time and the money that you might have been spending on ads and just use it to do what you like. Use it to do more work if you want to, or use it to hang out with your kids or do more yoga or whatever. It's a big change in lifestyle because if you're like most people, you probably spend a lot of time and a lot of effort marketing your business. And if your book can go out and become your salesman for you, that is amazing. It's also about being the authority on your thing, having a sustainable business, having a lifestyle you enjoy, and maybe most importantly of all, spending most of your time in your zone of genius, doing what you love, instead of having to spend a lot of time chasing after, prospective clients. So I'm not sure why you showed up today. Maybe you're really tired of launching and networking and acting thirsty. Maybe you really you've known for a long time that you wanted to write a book and needed to write a book, and you'd really like to have a proven roadmap to get that done and to make sure it actually works, unlike most of the books on Amazon. Maybe you're tired of the feast and famine cycle, and you're ready to just have a smooth, predictable stream of pre-qualified leads coming to you. Maybe you even already have a book that's underperforming and you're tired of that and you're ready for it to pull its own weight and actually bring you clients and money. Either way, I hope you really get this one thing. I really have found the secret of publishing a book to be a bestseller and bring in leads in the long term. This journey has completely changed my life, and it's something you can do. It's a process that can be followed. So you can, in a very short time, be a best-selling author with leads coming in from your book month after month. So the obvious question is, how do I apply this in my business? Well, you have a choice. You can do the slow way with trial and error, or you can do it quickly with support. If you'd like some support, I have an e-course that was designed exactly for you. And here's the module outline. Step 1 is planning your showcase book. It's basically all of exactly how to do the exact steps that we've gone over in the presentation today. Now that you know what to do, you may still not know how to do it, and you may want some support in doing it. So step 1 is planning your showcase book. Step 2 is designing your book to sell. Step 3 is writing your book quickly. Step 4 is setting it up for leads. Step 5 is launching to bestseller. And step 6 is selling in the long term. So to give you a peek at what's in it, Module 1 is planning your showcase book. And that includes getting very, very clear on the message that you're conveying in your book, your proprietary process that the book is going to explain and discuss, and you're going to brainstorm freebies to include to entice people to get back on your mailing list. You're also going to get super, super clear on who your ideal client is if you're not already, because that is going to be who you're writing to when you write your book. Module 2 is designing your book to sell. That way you'll know that at the end of this process, you will have a book that actually sells. It's not going to end up in Amazon's junkyard. And that includes identifying the unique selling proposition for your book, the hook that makes people go, ooh, when you talk about it, a super juicy title, how to get organic traffic, and making your book irresistible to your ideal clients. Module 3 is all about writing your book fast. And in that module, we cover the exact structure that you're going to use to write your book, whichever way you do it. We're going to cover exactly how to do it using the 4 methods that I described, whether it's your e-course, your speech, writing, or recording audio. All of those, exactly how to finish your manuscript that way, will be discussed. And we'll also cover step-by-step exactly how to publish your book. Module 4 is setting up for leads. And so in this module, we'll talk about your freebies, specifically how to choose which freebies to offer, what formats to make them in, how to make them, and how to make them good. We'll discuss your email sequence, specifically exactly what should go in each message and when each message should go out. And then I'll cover exactly how to hook it all up. And there are even some demo videos in the e-course to show you exactly how to connect everything so that it will work automatically. Module 5 is launching to bestseller. And that includes exactly what you need to do to hit number 1 with your book, the specific timeline to make the most out of your launch. And it also includes which launch activities are essential, which ones are ideal but optional, and which ones are actually, frankly, a waste of your time and money. And I'll also show you the exact $200 in ads that you can use to make your book a bestseller. So $200 is a pretty small ad budget, and that is enough to make your book a bestseller. You want to know exactly where that money needs to go. Module 6 is selling your book in the long term, and that includes how to keep your book selling after the launch is over. Obviously you don't want to keep pestering people and trying to get them to promote the book for you. You want it to sell automatically, and we're going to talk about how to make that happen, and also how to optimize to make sure you get the most return for everything you do. So what's the investment for this program? If I were to do all of this for you from start to finish, that would be about $50,000. If you wrote your manuscript and I just did the editing and the cover design and published it for you, that'd be about $14,000. For coaching or consulting, I charge about $300 an hour. And also, building this e-course costs over $15,000. I also want you to think about what the value is for you. If this wins you one new client, what is the value of that in your business? Is it $3,000? $5,000? $10,000? Well, your investment is a tiny fraction of that. It's only $297, followed by 3 more payments of $297. When you sign up, you'll immediately get access to everything. That includes all of the video lessons, all the demos. I've got full audio of all the lessons, so if you prefer to learn while you're walking your dog or driving your car, you can download those and listen on your phone. It includes transcripts, handouts, and worksheets, and also a schedule planner to help you plan your launch at your pace. So you get everything instantly as soon as you sign up. And that means you truly can go at your own pace. You know, there are a lot of courses that are like, go at your own pace, but what they mean is as slow as you want. They never seem to cover as fast as you want. So this course, you can go as slow as you want or as fast as you want. You can skip around. You can do whatever. You will get everything immediately. You'll also get group power calls twice a month. So you can get on the phone, or it'll be Zoom actually, and talk to me, talk to the other people who are in the group, and get answers to your questions, get some coaching if you're stuck, get some suggestions, laser coaching. So again, 2 of those per month. The value of that is $7,200 a year. You'll get to be in our private discussion group. If you've ever read Think and Grow Rich, you know that one of the most powerful things you can do for your own development is to join a mastermind group and surround yourself with like-minded people who are on the same path. So that is included in this, and that has a value of $11.97 per year. You also get backstage access to my next launch, in which I will go through this exact process for my next book. And you can see exactly what I do, exactly what happens, like absolutely nothing will be hidden. And the value of that is $4.97. But most importantly, what you'll get is visibility, recognition for yourself as the expert, and you'll get time and freedom. All of that time that you used to spend pursuing clients, you can use for something else because your book will be your salesperson for you. And people will be coming to you, and you'll have the freedom to do your life your way, your life and your business your way, instead of having to be a speaker or having to go to networking events or having to, try to build community in your Facebook group or whatever it is that you don't like doing. You can just do it your way and use the extra time that your book has saved you to do whatever you want. So to sum up, if you want to publish your signature book to showcase your expertise, be the one who wrote the book on that, and have ideal clients seeking you out, there is no better system. You get all the modules in video, audio, and text formats. You get the group calls and the community support. And you can start for only $297 today. So right now you can get immediate access to the entire course. Just go to 17,000 days, that's 17000days.com/BSTSLR, like bestseller, but without the vowels. It'll look like this. And it's real easy. All you have to do is enter your name and your email address. And then we're also offering a VIP upgrade where you can get my personal feedback on your book and your materials. So if this is your first book and you want to make sure that it does as well as it possibly can, you want to make sure that all of the marketing stuff works and you definitely become a bestseller, I recommend you get this upgrade. And it includes my recommendations on your hook, your cover design, your ads, and your launch plan. And so if you're not 100% confident that you can do the absolute best job of all of this stuff on your own, I recommend that you get this upgrade. It's $200 a month. It's a subscription. You can cancel at any time. And whether you get this upgrade or just the e-course, you'll get all the information you need to finish and publish your book quickly, make sure it becomes a bestseller, and make sure it brings you leads. So right now, I'm not actually finished building the course. I've recorded all of the videos and all of the audios are ready. All that's missing is the handouts and the worksheets. And I've already started those also. But right now, I'd love to get some people in and have you start trying the course and learning stuff and start getting results. And so right now, I'm offering a discount for anybody who enrolls before I finish the rest of the worksheets and the handouts, which I expect to be really in a couple of days. But if you get in before I finish those, You can use the coupon code pre-launch, all in caps, and that'll take 50% off of your payments for the e-course. So that's a really great deal that I don't expect to be around very much longer. Honestly, I expect to finish everything within the next few days. So if you'd like a discount, you want to go ahead and grab that. All you have to do is enter your credit card information, and click Place Order Now. And when it's finished processing, you will see your little invoice, and you'll immediately receive an email with all the information you need to log in and get started. Now, in the beginning, I promised that if you stayed until the end, I would send you the bestseller launch checklist and publishing roadmap. And my system has the ability to tell who is still on here, and so those will be sent out to you automatically. Meanwhile, for absolutely everybody, I hope to see you in the course. And either way, I wish you the best of success with your best-selling new book, and go forth and shine.